Hi,
I
David.
guess.
So, how did that meeting go when I had to leave?
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed staying with your family and everything went well for you. Yeah.
Yeah, but I lost the recording. I didn't get to watch it.
Oh, yeah.
So, did it go okay?
Cool. Yeah, yeah. As always, there are lots of things happening here. Yeah.
Good.
About this contraction that keeps appearing, contraction, like these bodily sensations that seem to appear together with these stories. Recently, in the last few days, it seems that there have been these glimpses or very short moments in which this contraction has been accepted, or like resistance disappeared for a moment. And it was a very good sensation, like being with justice, without resistance. But it's so short, it's so brief. Because here, when it appears, this contraction, this resistance, these feelings, there is immediately this unpleasant recognition of unpleasantness, and immediately, like the mind feels like, even if it's not very clear, it seems that it's not accepted. There is resistance to these sensations immediately. But in the last few days, there have been these very brief moments in which it was accepted. There was some sort, maybe like focusing on having like loving kindness toward this. And for brief moments, this was accepted. And it was like pure bliss, but very short, very short. And so, yeah, the mind has these questions on how did it happen? Why can't it be always like this? Why sometimes there is, most of the times, there is resistance, and so there is suffering. And then for some brief moments, there can be acceptance, and there can be no resistance, and there can be just this.
Mm, mm.
So how, because the mind wants to recreate
Yes, of
that
course.
brief moments. The
Yeah.
mind wants always to be in that state where everything is accepted,
Mm,
even the contraction, even the
yeah.
what it is. So how, yeah, why is that? I don't know. I know there is no why. There is no
Yeah.
why. But yeah, there are lots of questions about this.
Yeah. So, how did you come to the description that it was acceptance? Was that an intuitive description you bring
There
to
was
it?
some kind of guidance before that happening. Like, let's try to stay with this. Let's try to look at it as we talked a few meetings ago. We talked about staying with the inner child. If you remember, staying with
Mm,
the innocent child. It was that sort of guidance. It was, let's try and stay with that and see it for what it is, and just try to welcome it. But I don't know if it was that,
mm,
because that is still thoughts. It's still, but sometimes, somehow it happened that the resistance for a brief moment, disappeared.
yeah. Yeah.
It
Okay.
was just that. I don't know what caused it.
Good. and you're never going to know probably. And you don't need
Yeah.
to chase it down. You
Mm.
get, don't you, that the moment you try to recreate it, the moment you look for an answer as to why, you actually create resistance again. If you
Mm.
if you use the metaphor that it was an offering and your only option was to accept it or reject it. But when you look at those two things, there's no such thing as accepting it. There's simply not rejecting it. If we go beyond no rejection, you reach a point very quickly where you're welcoming it, you're inviting it, or you're insisting on it coming in. So when we look at rejection and acceptance, the only tangible thing you can really maybe see is how does rejection, resistance, manifest in the body? And that's where we started, isn't it? That's what you were talking about, that sensation in the chest, that contraction. So we've done a full circle. We're accepting the contraction, or we're not rejecting the contraction, and then for a moment we don't have that. But see, all of this is contingent on you being able to do something, and you can't. Even to say what you can do is be curious about it, it's not actually true. You can't decide to be curious.
Mm.
You will be curious, but curiosity is worth looking at. Curiosity is a really interesting one, and that there's no insistent on an answer. It's just an open invitation, an openness to the possibility of an answer. Now, a big one, of course, you want it to be there all the time. It feels so good, you want to keep it, but you can't keep it. Well, certainly not by hanging on to it. But like an invitation, it might decide to stay, which is kind of a crazy way to put it, isn't it? But as a metaphor, you can invite a wild bird to come onto the porch and eat out of your hand, but you can't make it stay.
Mm.
But maybe you can train it to hang around a bit longer. And how do you do that? By being still, by being quiet.
Taking notes.
Hmm. Yeah, that,
Yeah, I love this thing that you said that it's like an offering, it's something being
mm.
offered. And even acceptance, it's maybe a little bit too much because the moment you accept it, yeah, you don't even need to accept it. It's just here. It's just what
Yeah.
it is. It's already here. It's already the case.
And if we can get a feeling that it's so sensitive that we need to be really still to allow it to stay. The moment we make any kind of aggressive move,
Mm.
gone.
It's like an animal paying visit to you while
Yeah.
you're in your porch. It
Mm.
comes, It's very sensitive and it goes when it wants. It comes when it wants and it goes when it wants.
Yeah. So being curious, isn't this interesting? Something happened. We know that for a fact. Something happened. But what was, why it was, probably never know. And it doesn't matter. We don't need to be
Yeah.
able to write a story about it. We want to experience it. But if we want to experience it enough to go after it, we're in trouble. But what a good
Yeah,
thing.
totally
Did you
true.
did you did you celebrate the fact that you had that experience? What an amazing experience, even if it was seconds long. Right? It means that whatever happened, it knows the way back.
Mm. Yeah, there's gratefulness, gratefulness for what? For this. And then at the same time, the mind immediately starts and says, yeah, we need to get this again. We need to understand why it happened, to recreate the
Yeah,
condition, to recreate the exact conditions
yeah.
and make it
You know,
happen again and
all, all of,
control it and control it. Yeah.
all of that stuff I told you, you already know, don't you?
Mhm. Yeah, it's just obscured by these
Yeah.
stories and
Well,
thoughts,
the want for it to stay can kind of push it away.
temporarily obscured.
Yeah. If you respond to it when it turns up with, hmm, isn't this interesting? Then that leaves you more open to see details of what's happened. We don't need to come up with stories about shadow work or letting go of childhood beliefs or anything like that. They may be involved, but if they are, they're likely way too complex for us to isolate any one or two things out of it.
Mm.
The mere fact that something is happening is well worth celebrating. That is brilliant stuff.
Mm. Yeah, we can't really know what it is. It's just, yeah, we can welcome it, celebrate it after it happened. Yeah, just be grateful. Yeah, that maybe it happened. I don't really know if it because now right now it's just a memory. It's just a thought.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, it
And
really can be controlled in any way. It
no,
can be
sure,
forced to
yeah.
control.
I would even hesitate to describe it as a moment of acceptance that may be involved in it, but I imagine it's much more complex than just that. A moment of no resistance, a moment of relaxation, a moment of letting go. Many, many aspects could be involved in it. So, isn't it curious? Isn't it interesting? Is by far the best attitude to have with it. And with that, an invitation to reveal more of itself, which may or may not happen.
And it's not really that different from the moments in which there is only contraction and there is also resistance because these are also
Yeah.
these also come for no reason and go when they want.
Yeah.
And
And you
it
might
just
find that one is involved in the other as well. So
yeah, they yeah.
you start off with a contraction, but part of that contraction is the
Hmm.
what you experience. And
Yeah,
they,
they can. They are interdependent. They are mutually interdependent. They can't exist without it. It's only the mind that creates this distinction.
mhm,
And yeah, one exists because the other one exists too.
mhm,
Yeah, yeah. It's only in the mind that
yeah,
there's this distinction. Even the contraction, it comes, pays visit, and goes. And it's very sensitive to the environment and to the circumstances and the conditions. It really, the distinction is only after the fact.
yeah.
Yeah.
Only when we start to think about it, only when we add stories to it, that's when the distinction happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's mind blowing. It's freedom. There's freedom in that. It's freedom. I don't know freedom from what, but it feels like free. It feels like free, and it even when it's I would say pleasant, unpleasant, uh,
Yeah, don't try. Yeah.
unbeautiful,
Yeah. It's the
beautiful.
mind's very, very lame
Yeah,
attempt to make some sense out of it. It can't,
yeah.
can't.
Right now,
Yeah.
it's trying
Yeah.
so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wants to grasp it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think that was it. I feel so grateful that I can like talk with you about this stuff and like react. There's a reaction. It's like a litmus test. What you say is reacting with what already is here, with the condition that is here. And this helps
Yeah.
bring out what already is here, what is happening here. And it's because it can always be seen through what is here,
Yeah.
through the conditioning that it's already here, through the lens that is already in place, and the structures that are already here in place. And so but it's a very, very, very useful, very helpful, because
Yeah.
it helps. You are the word that brings out what is here. You are the everything that happens and bring out what is here.
I am
And
a mirror that you hold up in front of yourself.
mm,
Hmm.
can you repeat that, please? Sorry.
I am the mirror
Yeah,
that you hold up in front of yourself.
yeah, yeah. I'm so grateful. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, David. How are you, Shah? I haven't seen you before, have I?
Hi, Vince. Thanks for remembering me.
I didn't remember you, but okay,
Oh,
good.
okay.
I'm glad that we've met. Yeah. So
Yeah.
how's life for you?
So, um, well, I'm in the I had it and I lost it phase.
Right.
So I had a moment of insight. It's just a second or two, and something shifted. And that shift stays. I mean, that shift means that I no longer get caught up and you know thing things are too real. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Things are not as solid anymore, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That shift stays, but the seeking has come back.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So a year and a half, life was lifing, and there was there was joy, there was, all emotions. And they came and they went. There was a lot of love and compassion for everyone. There was a lot of joy that bubbled out and I shared with everyone.
You're feeling it right now as you tell me about it, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But like a memory.
yeah,
Yeah, a little bit like a memory. And like I said, so something that shifted, the shift stays. So it doesn't feel like I've gone back to sleep completely, but the seeking is back on full-fledged, like it used to be when I first
yeah.
started attending your meetings. And so that makes me a little like, oh, do I have to do it all over again now? Should I ask Vince? I mean, one more alarm bell, please. Maybe
Uh,
you need to wake me up again.
you woke yourself up the first time. I didn't do it. Yeah. Yeah, look, I have to say, I see this again and again and again, and what we frequently in the industry, we would call your experience as the honeymoon period,
Ah,
right? And then along comes doubt.
yeah.
Yes. And then doubt, we start seeking again. Yeah. So let me ask you this. Do you doubt whether there's an actual independent, separate self running the show? Is there any doubt about that?
Yes, completely. I mean, I do doubt it
You do?
because I, I doubt there is a self,
Yeah,
an
you doubt
independent
there is a
self.
self.
I
Yes.
doubt.
Yeah.
I doubt that.
Yeah.
I still, as the seeking came back, I have started the inquiry again. And as I do the inquiry and I keep looking for and not finding a self, the old familiar fears again arise.
Yeah.
Again, the tightness in the stomach. Sometimes I go like, I want to like, if someone took my breath away.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I look at the choices I make, and I can see that the result of liking, disliking, making choices is not coming from something like
Yeah. Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that still, gives me the palpitations.
Mm,
Uh,
mm.
but of course, I keep doing the inquiry.
Yeah, because you think that'll get you back there somehow. Yeah.
Yes.
So that analogy that you may have heard me use before. Let's say you want a watermelon and you go to the fridge and open it up and there's no watermelon in there. And you shut the fridge and walk away, but you still want a watermelon. Are you going to go back and look in the fridge again? No. So you don't need to worry about, is there a self? You know there's no self, right? Forget that. Let me ask you this. Is your doubt, could your doubt be described more accurately as you doubt that you're awake?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
now
It
what we have
feels.
is we have this big boogeyman called expectation, right?
Yeah.
And that expectation is partly created by that honeymoon period that you had. Ah, of course you want it back. It was fucking lovely,
Yeah.
wasn't it? It was beautiful.
It was lovely.
Yes.
It was like floating through life.
Yeah. Well, you came back to Earth, but that doesn't mean that you lost what you had. It just looked like it.
It just
What if I said to you that that there's no logical way to describe it. That place, that experience that you had that we called the honeymoon period. What if I said you can't live in it, but you can access it?
Yes, I think the expectation is to live in it.
Yes.
Because I think I started seeking in the first place because I wanted to live in a place like that, that
Yes. Yeah.
floaty world,
Yeah.
where everything was effortless and
Yeah.
emotions didn't shake me as much.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that come up here too. One is that you will experience many different conditions in your life. This is just being human. How you respond to them is what we talk about with being awake. And you responded with something that when in that during that honeymoon period where you were quite open, quite inviting, quite accepting of whatever turned up. And so there was no spin-off into second arrow stuff. There was no spin-off into suffering. And, but now there is some of that. So it's really a case of you learning. Oh, she's gone. No, here she'll be back. Okay.
I'm really sorry, Vince. I
No,
missed
no,
what
it's
you
no
said.
problem. So what I'm saying is that there's a learning period.
Mm.
Now, my experience, and that's all I can talk about, is that 14 years later, I'm still learning. I
Oh,
still
okay.
get triggered. I still feel that those moments when wouldn't it be lovely if I could just not respond to them, not react to them? Uh, and I am getting better.
So,
Uh,
Vince, I mean, I follow the Buddhist path, and they talk about, the Satori experience stabilizing at some point. So, what would that feel like? How would I know it has stabilized? Or do I still do something to get to the point where it stabilizes?
What we call the honeymoon period, you could describe that. You could use the Buddhist description of Satori for that. That would be quite a reasonable thing. But remember that the descriptions that come out of Buddhism were originated hundreds of years ago. Society was different. Everything was different then. uh, And this learning is another way of saying stabilizing.
Okay.
It will stabilize as you learn. And so let's say your initial experience showed you a possibility. And, and then it was like, okay, let's get back to work here now and clean up some deeper stuff. Yeah. You haven't lost anything. You can't undo what's already been done. You were changed by that experience. And so to describe it as having gone backwards, back to the beginning, it's rubbish. It's not what happened at all. You've moved forward
Yeah.
to a new level of learning. And what we've yet to teach is the nervous system. The nervous system takes many repetitions, takes lots of experience to settle down. But the big danger with all of this is stories. Stories, how could it be different? Stories about it's being permanent. Nothing's permanent in this life. All you have is current experiencing. And what experience is permanent? Doesn't every single experience start and stop or
Yes.
morph into something else? And so it's now the you've moved up a class, if you like. You've gone from kindergarten to first class, where you're learning about more real world stuff. And when you get good at that, you'll move into the next level and the next level, and it just goes on and on and on. I don't think it ever stops. Maybe it does. I don't know. The Buddhists certainly talk about people who are permanently in that state, but I've yet to experience anything like that. And I don't know of anybody that has, except in literature. Yeah. So, what can you do that is not doing? What can you do that is not pushing the river? How do you relax with the current and let the flow take you? And if in the middle of that you step on a rock, well, that that's an experience. Painful when it happens, but pretty good to remember. It happened. Yeah. So really it's a case of drop the idea that you've lost anything. You haven't. And that experience that you had that lasted so long, that was pretty good that it lasted that long. Yeah. That's revealing. That is really good stuff. Yeah. The negative, of course, is that it fooled you into thinking you can have it permanently.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a strong expectation that that's what it was going to be like.
Mm,
I mean, of course, I knew I would have to continue progressing, but I didn't expect coming back to Earth.
mm.
That I didn't expect. I just felt I was Jonathan Livingston Seagull.
Yeah,
I would just keep
absolutely.
flying upward and further away.
Yeah. But you didn't come back to the same Earth you left before.
No, I haven't.
It's a different one.
It's
Yeah.
a different world.
Mm,
It definitely is.
yeah.
And I can not just feel it, sense it, but when I look around, the kind of people I attract, the people in my orbit, they are changing.
Yes.
My experiences are changing. They are no longer what they used to be.
Yeah.
So yes, it is a different realm.
Yeah. And isn't that curious? Isn't that interesting that that's happening? We don't need to find a reason. We don't need to have an explanation. We just know that it's happening. There's no cause and effect. The butterfly that flapped its wings in South America was just as much cause as anything else that's ever happened. Mm. It's beautiful. So
Wow.
pleased to see you. Yeah.
Thank you. Vince, at some point, I'll probably also ask you if you have a sense uh, whether I should start helping out in the Liberation Unleashed forum. Because I remember last time you'd asked me a couple of times to come there and, do some work there
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
help others.
And it will
Um,
help yourself as well. Yes, for sure.
Absolutely. To
And
keep,
and you have everything that is required to do that already. You don't need to worry about
mm,
not being there or
right.
anything like that. you know, you can recognize easily when somebody's lost in concept land.
Yes,
And that's all you need for that. Yeah, that's good value. So, yes, if you feel happy about it, I would say definitely there's good value in doing that.
sure.
Mm.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
thank you,
you. I
Charlie.
mean, what you've shared is really helping. I can already feel,
Yeah,
you know, that this was a little bit of concept land that I was in. And it was
yes,
good to see it through your eyes. Yeah.
good stuff. Yeah,
Thank you.
May I say something very quickly to Shah? Because
Please.
here it's the same. I know how it feels because here it's the same. It was seen, and then all these doubts appeared, and all this wondering if it really happened, and fear of losing it, and wanting to get it again. That state, yeah, and all these doubts, these thoughts. They seem to be about something, but they are not what they seems to be about. They are more like, if you look at them, they are like pointers. And they point to something very deep. There is some belief still in place, something more fundamental. There are beliefs. And these thoughts, they seem to be about this experience, this that happened and has been lost, or maybe didn't happen, or who knows. But they are more like something that points to some other belief about this me character. And sometimes it's a belief like this me is not enough, or this me is not safe, or this me is not seen, or this me usually is it's not enough. This me is not enough to understand all of this, or to see through this, or to. But the belief, it's not about that thing that happened. It's more fundamental. It encompasses all your story or your being or everything that happened. It's shaped, maybe apparently it's shaped your life over the years. It's pointing to something more deep here. At least this is what he has been seen here. So it's more about pointing to a fundamental belief about this me character, to something that is some conditioning that it's already here, because all the conditioning is still here. So it's more about that. That is what
Mm.
is here, at least. I don't know, but maybe it can be
yeah.
helpful.
Just don't go looking for that.
Yeah. Yeah, you just feel it. You just feel it and stay with it. It's a diversion, basically. It's a big
Mm.
diversion that the mind tries to
So
do.
another way to describe it is to say that what you've experienced took away a whole lot of defensive filters that you used to have.
Mhm.
And you've reached a point now where stuff's coming up because there are no filters to hold it down.
Right.
Yeah, it was already there. It's just that now, without these filters, it's more clear, more evident. It comes up.
Yeah.
It
But just the big trap
yeah.
is stories about what it means. Mm. Thanks, Shah.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Vince.
Alex.
Hi, everyone. This is my first time. You can hear me, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is my first time here. I'm feeling a lot of activation because of being here. And I'm not sure how much I want to say today, maybe. But everything that's been said very much resonates with me. And there isn't maybe necessarily a lot of seeking at the moment. I had like a and no filter experience many years ago, maybe 20 years ago. And my system, it didn't last very long. It was just a few days, but my system sort of shut down. After that, I had a lot of conditioning that came back because of the no filter. And I was completely overwhelmed with how much stuff there was. I didn't realize, and it took me a long time to integrate it. I don't know that I don't know that I necessarily sort of feel like things, like I was never the same again. I feel like I was very much overwhelmed with the conditioning. And every time I try, and sometimes even successfully, sort of go into no self, the same thing happens. I just get really overwhelmed with, I suppose, trauma. So I stopped doing that, and I'm just really taking it very, like, I see how much pushing there is, and sort of self-aggression. So I'm just doing it very gently with curiosity and compassion for myself, and it seems to be the way to go.
Mm.
Yeah, there is, I suppose, a longing to go back to that place. With, no filters, because it was, yeah, it was quite powerful. It was completely spontaneous, and I was never seeking before, and it seems like after that, which was really interesting, after that experience, when the conditioning came back very strongly, I felt like my mind was saying, don't even go there again, or don't even seek it. It's just it would be so boring to be so peaceful all the time, like you have your life to live, you have to have lots of exciting experiences. What are you just going to sit and be happy all the time? So it was really interesting. And I feel that voice is still there in some ways.
Can you see that voice is trying whatever it can to just keep you away from that stuff?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Mm.
Very successfully as well.
Mm. Mm.
So
There's
there's, I think there's those two things, the conditioning and the immediate kind of overwhelm with my stuff, like negative emotions, but very strong, painful, and the voice, like you said, that kind of keeps it away.
Mm. Tell me your reaction to this story, that when you battle your way through all of that heavy shit, you're going to find nothing there.
Well, that was my experience before, for those few days, that
Mhm.
it was a total illusion. It was like somebody wrote a book about it, and the book was on the shelf, and I wasn't connected to that book in any way other than I knew that story, that
Mm.
story of my pain or my negative emotions or my relationship with, let's say, with my mother, or with, with my family, or any kind of stuff that comes up. It was just
Mm.
completely irrelevant. Yeah.
Yet
So
the pain itself,
intellectually, I know that.
yeah. But the pain itself, of course, is much more than intellectual, isn't it? That pain is very real.
Very physical, yes. I think that's what kind of makes it difficult, because it becomes very physical.
Mm.
And in fact, it became so physical that I'm ill now. And I know kind of the reason why, and I'm really ill, and yeah, it's like gone a layer deeper into my body. Yeah, I feel so much activation. I think it's also because it's like talking about it, but also, like you said, something doesn't want me to experience it again. So there's like, this resistance
Yeah.
that is physical. And I'm actually not looking for anything here in this space. I just wanted to be part of something for a second.
Mm, it's good. Yeah, I'm glad you're here. Yeah. I feel the need to be very gentle.
Yeah.
It's a story, um, a metaphor, if you like, that when we confront these things too aggressively, they respond aggressively. So what we need to do in a way is to allow them to drop their defenses, to make them feel safe so they don't need to be aggressive in their defense. What occurs to me is if you give me put your email address in the chat with me, and they'll join you up to the Substack group. And I put out a story and a song and an investigation every day. And that some of those will be relevant and some won't be, but especially the songs are a way to kind of sneak around behind the unconscious mind to just look at some things. So that might be of value for you. Yeah. If you're inclined, do that. Yeah. I'm really happy for you to just turn up and say nothing or say whatever comes to mind.
Yeah.
What I encourage turns up as a story, which is be authentic with yourself. You don't have to show it. Just recognize what it is that you're actually experiencing and acknowledge that, and then do nothing. That in itself. So, but you'll find that you'll become more courageous and you'll share things and others will resonate with what you share. That happens. These groups are fantastic for that. Yeah. I love them because they trigger things in me that feel good. Mm.
Mm. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Alex. Yeah. How are you, Don? Back in the cold country by the look of it.
Yeah, I'm back in London. Yeah, it's a nice sunny day though. Mm. Yeah, I'm okay. I definitely related. I just sort of came onto this meeting about half an hour ago and just heard something about this honeymoon period and kind of because I had a shift a couple of months ago that was um yeah, it was just triggered by a conversation we had, and it was really strong. It was like suddenly the way that I described it to someone was like I felt like life was a real grind and a bit of a struggle, and then suddenly I felt like I was on holiday. Like it was just like, I was doing exactly the same things, but it was just like there was this kind of sense of lightness and freedom and just um that was, yeah, like I say, a couple of months ago. And then I was away in New York. I got a bit overworked, I got a bit overstimulated, overwhelmed, not in a bad way. It was really good stuff, seeing friends and doing lots of stuff, and had a bit of a kind of come down, and just felt that sort of stress sort of returning. And like then I had jet lag when I got back, and then I had a family wedding last weekend, and there was like lots of um I don't say traumatic, but like sometimes when me and my three sisters get together, there's like old family wounds get talked about, and I could feel that, how strong that was in my sort of reaction and getting triggered and everything. And I've been having a bit more morning anxiety again, and you know, so there's obviously that feeling of like, oh, where did that go? Feeling of like, yeah, I just identified with that story about getting into a certain state and then kind of quote unquote losing it. Um, so um, yeah, and the other thing that's going on at the moment is something that's been around for so long. Is this, fatigue. I get a lot of fatigue, and I'm 62, coming up to. Um, but I do plenty of exercise, and I eat well, and I sleep, well, and there's no sort of medical stuff going on as far as I can tell. But then, I'll have a nap in the afternoon sometimes, and then I'll be really tired again by the end of the afternoon or in the evening. And it's just kind of um it's a bit hard to describe. It feels a little bit like being sort of drugged or something. It's kind of like this sort of sensation in the body. It's almost like a slight ache or a slight itch or something that results in you just feeling drowsy and wanting to just, lie down and go to sleep. Um, so I mean, I'm gonna have I'm having some checks just to, some medical checks with my
Yeah,
GP or whatever,
good idea. Yeah.
um, and see what my sort of testosterone levels are like and things like that. If there's anything hormonal going on.
Yeah.
But it's hard with that one to sort of like not to not want it to be happening. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah, of course.
there's it's like, oh, that thing. It's not. I'm not like furious or super frustrated, and I try to just allow myself to go with whatever's happening. But at the same time, it's like, oh, that,
Mm, mm,
yeah. So that's a lot of stuff I just talked about. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. So what if we can't find what it is? What if it doesn't show up as something physical? Does that mean it's got to be psychological? Can we separate those two things?
Well, no, I don't think you can. I mean,
No, I don't think so either. Yeah. So there's a kind of an area where they're both involved. They're always both involved. You know,
mm,
we can't ever know.
yeah,
Yeah. So the old Byron Katie said, "Well, if you had to live with this for the rest of your life, could you do it?"
yeah, I
Yeah,
could.
wouldn't be that
Yeah,
pleasant, but not that unpleasant either.
no,
Yeah, it'd
it's
just be
not sort
better
of.
if it wasn't there, eh? Yeah.
Yeah,
mm. My experience these days is, yeah, I go through similar things. Like I'm at the tail end. Hopefully, I'm at the very end of a period of being, I suppose I would call it sick, for about the last 5 days, 6 days now, or a week.
Right.
I don't know, a while, yeah. But I couldn't have ever put my finger on what it was. It's like
Mm,
the most tangible thing was intangible. It was just a feeling of yuck. Uh,
mm,
you know, body very sensitive.
yeah.
The last couple of days, a cough has developed a bit. My wife insists that I tell her what it's about. And I have to say, I don't know. I've got no idea what it's about, what it is. Yeah.
Mm,
I want it to be over, but not in a way that causes other problems.
yeah, right.
I'm feeling bad because it's still here. It just is what it
Mm,
is.
mm.
Yeah. Maybe it
I can
means
see
something. I don't know. Yeah.
I can see how, yeah, I hesitate even to go into the sort of medical process, as it were, just because I don't want to build it up to this thing that I'm sort of battling or something, you know.
Mm, mm, mm.
Um,
Yeah. Well, I'm carrying probably, ideally, I would say I'm carrying 3 kilos more than I would like to be carrying. Mind you, I can't remember experiencing being 3 kilos less than what I am, but I've got this giant belly, and I wish that wasn't there. I've tried all sorts of things in the past, loving it, accepting it, and dieting. Yeah, it's bloody persistent. It, it's an interesting one. I can just say maybe it's trying to show me something, but
mm,
if it is, I'm not seeing it. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know. Maybe it's got nothing to do with that. Maybe it's, make up any story you like. It could be what it is. We don't know. It just is what it is, and it's not perfect.
mm,
Yeah. When I think, gee, I wouldn't mind being only 61 again. That was a long time ago. That was nearly 20 years ago for me. Yeah. So, but then I feel, wow, it'd be sad if you got this at that age and kept it. That's a story, of course. But yeah,
mm,
yeah, these things are just a mystery. And, there's nothing that's not a mystery. It is what life is a mystery. What life,
mm,
anything you can think about.
yeah.
And even if I say the only tangible thing here is what I'm currently experiencing, and then I immediately go into, well, of course, that's an interpretation. I mean, I do have what I would say is actual sensations, but when I look at them, they're not quite what they were before I started look at them. They change when I look at them. So
Mm,
again, what's actually going on is a mystery. Yeah, yeah. So I don't I don't have a choice about whether it's a mystery or not. I just have this mystery. What the hell is this thing called life, this thing called experience, this thing called the world, this thing called a person?
Mm,
It's a mystery.
yeah.
And I can't imagine I'll ever get to the point where it's no longer a mystery. Will I know? I think not. Will I know more? Well, there might be other aspects to the mystery that will reveal themselves, but I wouldn't call it knowing more.
Mm.
So it's an interesting, tricky one. Life is mysterious. But when we experience it in a way that we would call unpleasant, usually then it's trying to tell us something more specific. But this feeling that I've got in the body, I would describe it as unpleasant, but it's not really unpleasant. It's just not
Mm.
pleasant. It's kind of it's going too far to say it's unpleasant.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that, regardless of the triggering thing and the honeymoon thing, like the actual, that sort of fatigue thing, which I can even feel in my body now as a sort of very, um, like a slight buzzing throughout my sort of system. It's like, it's not unpleasant. It's just, it's the story that it means that, oh, I'm tired. That means I'm going to have to drink coffee or something. I'm going to have to kind of, the day is going to be more difficult. I'm not going to get such and such done. It's like all of that is what,
Mm.
oh, hold on one second. Um, yeah, it's like it's the stories around kind of what it means
Mm.
that is really what's more unpleasant than the sort of physical
Mm.
sensation.
So there's a bit of a seduction there into the idea that it's trying to tell us something. If we only listen right, we'll get it.
Mm.
And maybe we will, maybe we won't. I don't know. But yeah, that's a bit of a seduction, isn't it? Just listen and it'll tell you something.
It does seem to, if I tune into it and I sort of really surrender to it, it does seem to change a bit and kind of like something's alleviated at some level, but it doesn't tell me anything like
Yeah, yeah,
where
no.
it's coming from or like what
Mm.
it's about or you know what I mean? I don't get anything like that.
It's difficult because of that slight dissonance that it has to say welcome to it.
Mm.
But that's a possibility, just as an experiment. Recognize that it's a friend to help you, even if you don't know quite what it's telling you.
I did sort of recently kind of go stop. I try to stop labeling it tiredness, because it's actually,
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
too.
really tiredness.
Yeah,
It,
yeah.
it's a sensation, but there seems to be maybe the tiredness is a reaction to it or something.
Could be, yeah. Things get complicated like that, don't they? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that old story, you stand at the bottom of the Big Dipper at the theme park, and what you're feeling, is that excitement or is it fear? Right? Same sensation, different story that gives it meaning. Well, as soon as we talk about tiredness, it gives it particular meaning and channels us in that direction. So maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, it's an openness to that we're looking for. Not a resolution, just more. Mm. So with the family stuff that got triggered with your sisters, did you feel that there was some kind of an advancement, some kind of a moving forward in that, or was it just the same old, and it's still there, the same old, same old?
I don't think it affects me as deeply as maybe it has done. Um, I mean, I kind of want to talk about it with that, but I don't want to get into like a load of psychological stuff. But um, I've been doing I've been doing a little project which involves my family lived in Nigeria when I was very small, and I've been interviewing both my parents about just showing them some photos. There's lots of photos from the time, and just recording a conversation with them. Um, they split up when I was about 5 years old, and um, I feel affectionate towards my dad. I had some resentment, and then when I got into recovery, that sort of that got dealt with, as it were. And I sort of, I've got a really good. It's limited at some levels, but I've got a good relationship with him. There's a lot of affection on both sides. But then there are some stories, and I don't know if they're true, about the way that he behaved. It's at certain times that are coming out that are new to me, that make me feel like question whether or not I need to be challenging him, or if I'm set, if it's safe to be as affectionate to him somehow, or you know what I mean. It's like there's something that's threatening that sort of
Mm.
and I suppose that was a bit disturbing because it triggers old stories, of sort of victim stories. I think I can see them a bit more clearly, maybe happening more in real time. Um, yeah, I'd say that. But I was a bit sort of rattled. Um, and it's, I mean, also my brother asked me to take some pictures of it was just the sort of legal part of his wedding, but it was still quite an event. And so, I had to take on that responsibility, and and
That's a good
that
one.
made it a little bit stressful, and those family gatherings and hearing gossip about family and things like that, it's just
It's shocking, isn't it?
it's kind of yucky.
Yeah. Mm. So it's a bit of a quagmire. Mm.
Definitely. Um, I mean, years ago, I just got wasted, and
Yeah, yeah.
you know, I wouldn't. It would have been total chaos and messy and all that. So it's very, very different from those days. But
Mm.
um,
The tricky thing is, of course, that everybody's memory is a reconstruction, and
mm,
it's shaded by the way they see the world, the way they want
yeah,
to see what things were then and so on. So
Mm.
everybody's going to have their own tailored version
Yeah.
as
And
well.
I'm, in the little project I'm doing, I'm not really looking for answers. I'm just investigating, exploring, you know. Um, but then there seems to be some sort of hidden stuff that's got a little bit more of a sort of threatening flavor, you know.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, the big thing is when stuff gets quote quote revealed is not to immediately get sucked into what does it mean.
Mm,
Uh, those who reveal it to you will want it to mean one thing.
yeah.
Mm. So what's your level of seeking at the moment?
I don't think that's very high at the moment.
Great.
I think it's definitely diminished a lot since, well, for a while now, but definitely since, that couple of months ago. Like, I don't feel, I'm not like reading loads of stuff or, you know what I mean? I don't feel inclined to kind of,
Yeah, yeah. There's no
you
obsessive.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, that's not happening.
Great. Good stuff. Yeah.
Um, I mean, actually, I sit in the morning and I read the story that you email and I sort of sit for a little bit, but I'm not doing formal sitting at the moment. Like,
Yeah, good, good. Yeah.
just because I don't feel a reason to do it.
Yeah, good. That tells me
Um,
something as well. Yeah. Yeah. Most formal sitting or whatever is a great avoidance tool. Not that that's the way it was for you. It could have been, it might not be, but yeah, people who obsessively meditate, etc. That was always a bit of a worry there for me. Mm.
I feel like I distract myself a lot with media though,
Mm.
phone, sport, radio, news.
Are you relaxed about it?
Well, I think, it's interesting. I did a mushroom. I mentioned a mushroom ceremony recently, which I had to postpone, and I did it on Sunday, um,
By yourself?
and not by myself. Yeah,
Mm.
but I'm quite, I've got my routine, and you know, um, and I had the next day. I sort of have a recovery day or whatever because it takes quite a lot out of me, sort of physically.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, But I just noticed as soon as I sort of put the radio on or looked in my phone, got a headache. It was like I just realized how much sort of processing and agitation goes on as soon as you sort of look in your phone or you listen to the radio. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And maybe on a day-to-day basis, it's quite subtle, so you're not really noticing it that much. But
Mm.
I think it's definitely sort of accumulating some kind of tension or something.
Yeah. Yeah, the density of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like so much, it's like eating loads of different types of food and swallowing loads of food all at once, and then your
Yeah.
stomach's got to kind of process it. It's
Yeah.
like,
Mm.
and I could see that I just needed to stare out of the window for a bit, and
Mm.
just
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
Well, of course, the old idea that that's doing nothing is just ridiculous, isn't it? You know, sitting
Mm.
looking out the window is huge. It's a really big thing. Yeah. Nothing you could write a story about, nothing you could tell anybody about, but it's an experience, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to that for one of your sessions with, I think it's Suzanne, who's a German lady, and talking about the work ethic, you know, and it's not maybe as strong in the UK, but I've got that big time.
Mm,
I always worked, I had a paper round when I was 13 years old, and
yeah,
I always had a job while I was in college, and during my summer holidays I had jobs, and it was like work, 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 and
yeah.
I noticed there's guilt when I'm not
So,
doing.
so what about seeing that the media include the scrolling and whatever happens there as a pseudo job that
Yeah.
you feel relaxed?
Mm, yeah, in a way it is. It's a sort of activity that gives that sort of is like a sort of filling in for a sort of
Yeah.
work. Yeah, yeah,
So
there is
over
that. Yeah.
time, that feeling you get in your head when you're working, that feeling of density, that tightness there, that somehow legitimizes your existence. That
Mm,
feels like an achievement. Whereas as soon as I mean, the mushroom, of course, is going to do the opposite of density. It's going to things
mm,
space between the molecules, so to speak. And
yeah.
what a relief that is. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of these things are habitual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can
I
feel
wonder,
that
I
such
wonder if the
strong habit.
tiredness is a version of that as well.
Mm, could well be all connected.
So-
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
crazy when you think about it. Is it tiredness because you're not doing enough? It's paradoxical, isn't it? But
Mm,
but very possibly. Who knows? Yeah. So these projects you do, they're going to keep you going for the rest of your life, aren't they? As soon as you finish one project, you'll have to start the next movie or start the next project. Yeah.
yeah. I think that's not as intense as it once was, that sort of, because I think I'm doing the movie stuff that I'm doing because I'm just finishing a short film, and I'm not, I mean, I used to work incredibly intensively. So, you know, the way that I'm working, I sort of, I feel like I'm not getting pulled in that very strong drive.
Mm,
Um, but there is a sort of micro level, there's this sort of busyness.
mm. So have you recognized the germ of an idea for the next one when this one's finished?
Well, I've got a few, yeah, yeah. And I'm not quite sure which one will end up,
Hmm.
you know, materializing first.
Bloody interesting, isn't it? This life thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm a bit gobsmacked by confirmation bias. It just reveals itself to be so big, such a big thing in everything.
Mm,
It's the direction that we look in, and so on. But it, it's it's all a self-fulfilling expectation kind of thing that happens. And so to modify, to reframe the idea that we are some kind of a container with all of these unconscious desires pushing and pulling and affecting everything that we do and so on. Kind of works at one level, but it's also not very literate, There's this idea that what we've got are unrealized stories that are just potential until they get triggered.
mm,
And when they get
yeah.
triggered, they take on something substantial. But when you look at confirmation bias, you can see how we almost intentionally trigger certain things. We put ourselves in a position for them to get triggered in order to confirm the idea that we know what's going on. So to move into a place of not knowing is incredibly difficult, but
Mm,
so amazingly fulfilling as well. Mm.
yeah.
So as soon as you think you know who you are and what motivates you, and then you realize that they're just stories you've got about yourself, you can free up some of that stuff. Yet experience keeps telling us that that's the way it was and that's likely to be the way it will be. Yeah. Which is not true, of course, but there's an element of truth in it. Yeah. So being unknown to ourselves, being unknown who we are and what we are and why we are and what we want and what we don't want. And, oh, it's an amazing place.
Mm,
Oh, thank you, Dom.
yeah, thank you.
Tammy.
Hey, Vince. I guess I have four things to say. If I try to focus my unfocused brain. Um, I've been a bit uncalm in my body and mind. It's hard to focus. It's hard to relax. Things are like buzzing and just not clear or focused or calm. I had a few moments last night at like midnight where the body did relax. It's like, just at peace for a few moments. And then I have a weekly meeting with a friend where we do this thing and you kind of sit and see what's there and allow it to come up, and then you kind of talk a bit. And when I went under the buzzing and stuff, just very heaviness and maybe sadness, lethargy. I don't know if it's body, mind, it seems like both. And then it like scares me because if when the body relaxes, that comes up. And in the past, like heaviness or despair or lethargy have taken over, anxiety, despair for long periods of time. And I don't want to go there. So I think my body, in general, I think it's a habit of my body to, when it notices physical pain, like I didn't notice I had COVID for days because, like years ago, because I was in so much pain, but I thought maybe I'm just lazy. In other words, the body will tense up and activate me to avoid me having to feel physical pain, despair, lethargy. And so I feel like I can't breathe, I can't relax, I can't, like, I'm just unsettled, but I think the body prefers me to be there than in depression, sadness,
Sure.
despair type thing. So that's one thing I'm noticing. Um, Another thing, and also, what do I do with it? So I asked this other woman that I'm working with, I said, when I relax the body, this comes, but I don't want to be in that. So what do I do with it? And we discussed ways of like being present, but not also letting it take over. Like, yes, you can go and do something funny. You can actively work to lift yourself up, but also not ignore that. In other words, we don't want to suppress and ignore. So I don't know, kind of playing with that of how much I allow myself to like sink into that or feel that versus not letting it overwhelm me. That's not healthy either. Like, just playing with balance versus totality of like either I'm ignoring it and I'm plowing through my day, or I'm fully allowing it and just
Mm.
being with, you know, um, and in general, what these feelings are and how we deal with them. And if the model is that they're there, I was like, so why do we even do this if I then have to like lift myself back up? And the model is of like, throughout our lifetime, we accumulate these clenchings or pushing down of things, or, oh my God, I can't deal with that. And we kind of push it down, and as if we're holding on to that still, or it's there somewhere stopping our life force and tensing us up. And so it's nice to be able to, or it's useful or skillful or helpful to have a place once a week where we meet together and allow these feelings to surface. And the hope is that the model is not that, because some models are that there's darkness and we have to fight it and only be in the light and keep going, but some models are that this accumulated over childhood and whatever, and we need to, it would be good or helpful to allow it to come up in a safe space, in a safe way, touch upon them, explore them, see that they're not so scary, or maybe they are. In other words, in a mature adult present way, I don't know exactly, to allow them to surface so we can touch upon them a little bit while still touching into okayness, like she
Mm.
calls it titrating. I don't know, trying to understand what that means. And then it reminds me a little bit of what you go into saying, like, oh, let's actually feel it rather than having a label and saying, I feel X. Like, what does that feel like in the body? Am I tolerating it? In other words, to explore it a bit, allow it a bit. And maybe it has a message for me. Maybe it's saying something, maybe it comes with beliefs or fears that arise up and touching on those.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
that's a good one.
yeah. So what came up is this heaviness. I think in the summertime, it's very familiar to me. Like in the winter when there's no sun, I can also get sad, but I'm exhilarated by the cold and the fresh air. And in the summer, there's a lethargy and heaviness, and the heat just affects me like crazy. And I think I started having questions like, why does the world exist? Why was this whole thing created? Why does everyone have to go through this? And why do kids suffer? My mind goes to that kind of thing. And by the way, like in all spirituality, no one's really answering those things really. Like, why does this even exist? We're talking about how to end suffering when this already exists, but no one really, I don't know if anyone says anything profound on like why we're on a ball spiraling through space with weird arms and legs hanging out of a torso. Like, what is all this and why? So, like, that still sometimes bugs me. Um, and then I guess I did some inquiry into beliefs or stuff. And I had like a big breakthrough with that last week around my sister, and a big pattern shifted for me through talking to several people and inquiring around beliefs around that, and just noticing there was tremendous like terror and fear of my behaviors and them maybe triggering like her to scream at the kids and then it would be my fault. In other words, all kinds of things around my mother, my sister that I realized, and it just deflated a certain level of fear around my behavior and her behavior. So I'm just freer around her screaming or being aggressive. And I feel like I've tried everything else over the last 4 years since she had her first baby to make her feel good enough so she doesn't need to yell, help her enough so she doesn't yell, make her so confident, or change the topic, or be perfect, or comfort my nephew. Like nothing else worked. So the only thing I could do now is remove my level of anxiety or terror or reaction when she blows up. And that seems to, I don't know, do a field of something else. It loosens the field around it. And that's been amazing, and it loosens my fear internally. And that's really what I wanted to do around this whole thing of like, be the peace rather than the terror or the judgment. And so that really has shifted a lot in the last week. And I guess my two questions would be, my system wants to, oh my God, this work, this inquiry into beliefs, now I have to do that every week. And oh my gosh, the being aware of my patterns with this person every week, that really worked. So should I do it more? Should I do it every week? Or is this a waste of time, trying to like codify or systemize a way to keep progressing? And when I inquired this week again into beliefs, it felt like it had no effect. So I guess the question is, do I do that as a discipline anyway, once a week, inquiring into beliefs, even if I don't feel it has an effect? Like Byron Katie says, do the work, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, whatever. She says something like this about, keep inquiring into beliefs. You have to do it or else you're living them out. And I don't know if to go by like what I feel like, should that guide me about how much to do it? Or no, you do it as a discipline because you want to get free. And also I have the same similar question about, should I be doing more inquiry into no self? Because right now, all of my awakenings, awarenesses, or whatever are around human level patterns, beliefs, terrors that I feel around certain things unconsciously or semi-consciously, and releasing those, like allowing the nervous system to unwind. It's not on the level of, am I a doer and stuff? And, a little bit, I read some of your stuff and there was, the cup thing and the hand thing. And, did I move the hand? Did I choose? So I've done some of those along, the last times, the months that we've been working together. I've done some of those, and I have some moments where I'm like, yep, things just happen, but it doesn't, maybe it scares me, maybe it doesn't interest me. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm quite there. And on the other hand, some people that do that stuff say everything else, analyzing, going into the past, looking at belief, like all of that kind of stuff is a waste of time. You need to end your path. You need to see that there's no self, and that's the end. The mind quiets down, and that's it. And I'm like, like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, all I can say is everybody's different. So there's no recipe that's going to suit everybody.
So yeah, so I guess the questions are what I'm doing a waste of time, and it's just within the dream, and it's not going to end my suffering, and it's a never ending thing to do these, and I just need to wake up to the no doer thing? Or is this something that needs to happen whether or not I recognize no self? Because if the nervous system is in terror that my sister's going to scream at the kids and it'll be my fault, that's something I need to look at no matter if I'm awake or not. Um,
Yeah.
like on the one hand, I'm quite happy to just continue how I am, like slow and steady, letting the nervous system calm down from decades of hysteria and emergency mode terror. And on the other hand, I'm like, maybe that's never ending and I should just inquire into whether my hand is moving on its own.
Yeah. With all of these exercises, it's not the exercise itself. It's what you recognize, what you discover as a result of doing the exercise. And once you've discovered it, there's no need to do it again. There's no need to go back. You don't have to reinforce anything. You're not trying to convince yourself of anything. And so but see, all of this stuff is about discovery, every bit of it. And so when your curiosity about what's going on is all that you need, you've got exactly the most important tool in the toolbox there at your fingertips. And that is your curiosity about what's going on. You then get lost in thinking that there's an answer to that. So if we were to if we could interrupt the idea that the curiosity must lead to a conclusion, if we could interrupt that process and leave you with an unknowing about what's going on, that would be perfect. So, yes, look, and it doesn't matter who you are or what you're doing or what you're not doing. I would say what you're doing is perfect for you. And that's not just some arbitrary theoretical thing. It's a recognition that you're going to do what you're going to do. And that's the only way you're going to be able to get to see what's actually going on.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you might call it slow and plodding, that's just a description you've got. It's probably not slow and plodding at all. It might be, but it's likely not. It's likely quite quick. So, I was not slow and plodding. I was obsessed and running as hard as I could for 45 years. It didn't get me anywhere, did it? So who knows? Who knows? It's how we describe things or what the outcome of it is. We don't know. But that you're
Mm-hmm.
curious about what's going on, that's very revealing. Every time you come up with a story about what is actually going on and where that might lead you, you need to be able to see that. Excuse me. You need to be able to see that and throw it out, right? Because even if you come up with an answer about what's going on, it's not going to be right. It might be relevant to a part of it, but it's not going to be the whole thing.
You're talking about what's going on in the global sense of what is this world, or why does my sister do, or why are my patterns or beliefs? Are you talking about all of it, or?
Yeah, all of it, absolutely all of it, definitely.
So is it a waste of time to be seeing these things, or it's not a waste of time because they seem to have an effect on calming the nervous system?
It's, well, you might find that it's the stories about what these things mean that actually create the uncalm nervous system. But who knows? Yeah. So what I'm saying is that what is going on is not what we think is going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the surface level of looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
So these
So
little
when
shifts that you've had
mm-hmm.
are really significant. And yet you can look at your whole life as a whole. You can step back and take in everything and you can go, well, it hasn't changed very much. But if you zoom into them, you go, wow, that was significant.
But what do you mean by what we think is going on is not what's going on? Are you talking about patterns, beliefs,
Yeah,
motivation? Like,
all of it, absolutely, yeah. So any story that we can come up with that describes what's going on is limited and possibly not very accurate. And it's certainly going to be affected by the way we see things.
Vince, it's fascinating because on the one hand, I fully agree with you and see what you say. And I remember once years ago, I don't know if I told you this, it's not so significant, but we were watching this TV show and it was about singers and who's going to win first place and second place. And at first I thought that one guy had been won. And I said to myself, well, of course, because he's this and he's that. And of course he won. And then a minute later, I realized they had said the other guy. And I'm like, well, of course, because he's this and he's that. In other words, it I was aware of how the mind shifted just will shift and give the same reasons. And also with my sister, I saw her one way for many years, then I saw her a different way. Like I try on different clothes and different reasons, and now it's shifted again a bit. So, and yet each one of them seems to have, on the one hand, I know like all my thoughts are complete nonsense. On the other hand, they seem to have deep significance and meaning, and
Yes.
it
Yeah,
also can be useful and like help shift people's patterns. I mean, I help people as a health coach, I help people as a musician, and these all come from very, very strong ideas or directions, and it seems to be useful. And then you could look at it totally different when you read a book or speak to someone or just wake up in the morning, have a different idea. It's just fascinating how they can be the most significant thing in life is our ideas about things. Oh, this is my boyfriend and we're looking at a sunset, or oh my god, this person is a terror. Like our
yeah,
thoughts really control our experience, and some of them seem so true. Like pattern recognition is unbelievably astute, and like people become like people do amazing things with nuance and fine tuning things, and yet
yeah,
you can then look at it differently. I don't know what to say anymore. I
yeah.
just,
I like the story that thoughts promise satisfaction. If you follow them down this rabbit hole, at the end of it, you'll have this wonderful, fulfilling satisfaction.
mm-hmm,
And they are so good at doing that because they know
mm-hmm.
where all your buttons are. And that's just their nature. So it's not surprising that you can be so fully for one man and then a second later fully for the other person. That's perfectly natural. Yeah. But it's the recognizing these things going on and then I don't want to say not caught up in them because that sounds like a job to do, but it's recognizing them and holding them lightly.
Yeah.
Even that sounds a bit like a job, but you know what I mean. So we just have a relationship with them where we go, okay, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, because it's how else do I function in the world or make decisions or whatever without thoughts or
Ah,
meaning or intention?
yeah,
So
yeah.
you got to have some of them, but like,
Well, you don't. Yeah, but they're going to happen or not happen. You don't have to do a thing about that. You're a human. They'll happen.
yeah, but what really gnaws at me with all this indecision every day is like, but which one of those is gonna either be true or lead me to health, happiness, success? Like, which one of those will bring to betterment? And it's yeah.
Mm. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Maybe it's none of them will lead you to that. Recognizing that will lead you to that. Maybe.
And yet the way you were speaking to the first person, she was on honeymoon and then she wasn't, and she had to come back to Earth. I haven't had the non-dual shift per se, but I've had many, many times where I'm just floating in bliss and peace. And
Mm.
then, darn it, I'm back here. So I
Yeah,
totally get that. And
yeah. So your honeymoon periods can be minutes long or whatever.
I've had some that were a few days though,
Yeah,
definitely.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But we all have to live on Earth. It's very disappointing.
Well,
But
it's not disappointing. So yeah, we do. I mean, they're all saying come back to Earth. That does happen, and it can happen with a bit of a shock sometimes. But sure, but each time we come back to Earth, it's like your system is saying, "Well, I know you've got that. Now let's move on to the next thing." It's not going backwards. It's not undoing anything. It's moving forwards onto the next thing. So you're just a glutton for new lessons all the time.
so we don't get to rest. We don't get to arrive at some non-dual awakening and then be okay. We have to always be learning.
Well, the way I see it and my experience is to say that the coming back to earth business gets further and further apart. So there'll be times when you'll go for months even without having that realization about being human. But you know, it's everybody's different, of course. It's going to be vary for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, in the beginning, you can easily see how there's lots to learn. We've got a lot of stuff that we carry as beliefs that identify us with some non-existent self. And then as we work through them, as they turn up, and every time we come back to Earth, that's a possibility of working through another one, then they thin out and get further and further apart. You know, this being sick that I'm experiencing at the moment, that's one for me. You know, there's a lesson going on there. I can see that. I don't know what it is. Just maybe it's just a arrogance check. I don't know. Yeah.
So, so you are saying that it is valuable to unravel these beliefs. That's what you're saying now, that we need to see through them. Or you're saying only the belief that there's a separate self is worth unraveling.
I don't know, no, but I wouldn't go as far as to say unraveling. You know, that sounds like work anyway. What I would say is that we simply need to recognize that a belief is in play, and then that will change it. We don't need to find out what the belief is. We don't need to expose it and undo it. That will just happen because we recognize that it's a belief. And of course, there's an interesting philosophical question here, and that is that can a belief remain intact if it's seen? And I suspect it's not. It can't be.
Mm-hmm.
Beliefs require themselves to be invisible.
And do you think I should try, like, would you encourage, I don't know if this makes sense or matter, but like, would you encourage me to inquire more into the no self-belief if I'm not like inclined to really go there now? It's like in the back of my mind,
Ah,
I'm like, someday, but not right now. But maybe
if
that's what's
let's
preventing me from ending suffering.
do what you're inclined to do, right? Because it's like that inclination is leading you. That's at an intuitive level. So I would go with what you're inclined to do.
Yeah, because I feel some, curiosity about it, but I'm like, no, no, not yet. And I don't know if to listen to that, but
Yeah. Yeah. Well, just also recognize too that curiosity is the big part. Finding out what is not. In fact, if you do find out what, it's not it. It's a pretty blanket statement, isn't it? But it's true.
hmm. So what would your guidance to me for this week be, Vince?
I had something a little earlier, but I've forgotten it now. Jack looks like he's got something for you. Yeah, good one. Yeah. Go slow and happy.
Hmm.
Yeah. See, whatever you do reveals alternatives. So you can't actually go slow, right? You might slow down, but when you get to a certain level, you'll speed up again. That's just nature. That's the way things work.
Mm-hmm.
You say, "Oh, I should go slow," but that's the illusion that you can do it. You can stay going slow. Well, you come to a downhill and you're going to go faster, aren't you? You come to an uphill and you're going to slow down again.
Yeah, I guess there's just all these people I've been hearing in my ear, like whether it's Byron Katie or different non-duality, like teachers that say, you
Yeah.
have to end it, you have to do the work every day. In other words, like inquire till it's over, and kind of like anything else is just
Okay.
a waste
That's a
of
big
time
one,
kind of thing.
right? Okay. Don't listen to anybody except yourself. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to Byron Katie. Don't listen to anybody except yourself. And that is an experiment. Right? So if Byron Katie says da 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 da, consider it and go
Mm-hmm.
with what your intuition tells you about that. If you hear somebody talk about such and such, consider it and go with what your intuition says. And if you
Mm-hmm.
find you're getting pulled and pulled too much, when you hear somebody say something, dismiss the whole thing and don't even go there. You are your best authority. Nobody else can tell you a thing about yourself. You don't even know about yourself.
So then how am I my best authority?
Well, I'm not saying you're the most the perfect authority. You're just
Mm,
as better than everybody else.
mm-hmm.
So even if the best is not very good, you're still the best. But you are better than what you realize. That's partly what I'm saying. If you once you get the hang of listening to your intuition,
Mm-hmm.
you'll find good stuff turning up.
Mm-hmm.
And your intuition, if it really is your intuition, it doesn't get swayed by stories. It's much more in tune with your experience.
Mm-hmm. My experience is affected by my beliefs. And so then I'm again in a sea of like help. So what orients me? But
Mm.
like, is my experience trustworthy? Like nothing, what is trustworthy? What is true? What is like, it's hard to know that, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe there's nothing to know. Maybe there's no such thing as trustworthy. Maybe there's just your experience and just your interpretation of experience.
Mm-hmm. And that's all I can go by.
Yeah, but it's not all you can go by, bummer. It's all. It's everything you can go by. And it's not to say that it's going to be 100% good stuff. It might not
Mm.
be. But the more you use it, the better, the more in tune you'll become with it, the better you'll be at it.
Yeah, I guess I keep looking for external wisdom. Like someone must know better than me because I'm clearly not doing a good job. That's like been my life motto kind of thing.
Okay, right. Okay, yeah. Look, I'm doing a story and a song on that very instant right now. I'll send it to you. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. How we come to believe that we are not our own authority. Hmm. Yeah, that's a big one. You know, many more people than you'd like to imagine suffer with that one. Because every kid is told, no, that's not right. Listen to an adult.
mm-hmm.
And when you get to an adult, you realize that they're all just big kids. At least I did anyway.
Yeah. Some weird pun is coming to me now. We're always like, don't listen to yourself, listen to him, listen to him, listen to Himalayas. In other words, just
Yeah.
always somewhere on some mountain that knows better than you. But yeah.
Yeah. So
All right. And now, sorry,
make the
go, Vince.
experiment big. That's the thing. Make the experiment big. You're just curious about what might turn up and where it comes from.
And what do I do with
And when you
fear
describe
about,
it,
yeah.
realizing that it's not actually what it is. The description is just what you bring to it, but there's more to it.
And what do I do about the fear that this despair, heaviness that has really taken over my life in the past will take over in the summer and just make me really down and horrible?
Wait and see. It sounds too glib, doesn't it, to say that? But essentially, you don't know that you're going to react like you did last summer. Things are
Mm-hmm.
very different now to what they were last summer. Even though they might appear at first glance not to be, they are. They're very different.
Mm-hmm.
You've
And
got
with
skills
heaviness or,
you didn't have then.
and what, sorry?
You've got skills now that you didn't have last summer.
Mm-hmm. I've got skills. And what about like, what do I do with despair, heaviness, or that kind of very darks or dense things that come up? Do you have any skills about how to deal with those? Do I go into it? Do I avoid it? Do I pull myself up?
Definitely go into it. Don't run away from them. But you've got to look after yourself as well. So, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, if you go into it with compassion for yourself, you'll find that it will unravel into something that's not nearly what it first seemed to be.
Okay, Vince, nothing. Just sending you a lot of love and joy and good health and all well wishes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you. Right. Thank you for your patience, Jack.
Of course. How are you doing?
Mm.
I've heard to say that you scare me a lot for some reason, and I don't totally know why.
Yeah, you've said that before.
Yeah.
And it breaks me up.
I'm sorry. I don't.
Don't be.
I hold it lightly. I know that it's less you, if that makes sense, or
Mm. Yeah. Well, it's interesting too, isn't it? It's telling you something, but we just don't quite know what.
yeah.
I don't imagine you're scared that I'm going to humiliate you, that I'm going to
No.
say you're wrong.
Well, that all the time, but you know,
Or,
not in the way you mean.
so what were you going through as you're listening to everybody? And
A lot. It's a long meeting. Um, the no. The biggest one is I keep over the course of the last week, a lot of seeking has started up, and I started coming back to this I thing. And I don't know, it doesn't feel like such a compelling question, but also like it's so clear that I still believe that
there's a someone here. So like even for me to go and look for the eye, I kind of have to engage that style of thinking. So it's kind of like I don't even know. It only really disappears when I'm not thinking about it.
But doesn't that tell you something?
Yeah, it does. Um, like I can sometimes see it flash in and out of my visual field as I'm talking.
So maybe you don't believe that there's an I there running the show, but you want to.
Yeah, that's possible. This doesn't make any sense, but the thought came up that there's nothing there. Kind of what you're saying is like there's nothing tangible for me to grab. Because obviously, like, they're still seeing, or you,
Mhm.
like, you don't go away but
Yeah. So okay, there's still experiencing that. Would that be that's encompass all of the senses
sure.
and even
Yeah.
include the mind in that one? So there's experiencing going on. We know that, right? Without getting lost in the meaning of no, but there is a pretty solid. There's a
Something there.
solidness about knowing that experiencing is happening. But we've got to leave that behind and get off into concept land to talk about who is experiencing or what is being experienced. So we go from a verb experiencing to a noun who is experiencing or what is being experienced.
Okay. Yeah, I get some of that. That was the first thing you ever said to me. I went and looked for the old video, and you talked about there's only verbs. There's no nouns. Serendipitous timing or whatever, but
Mm.
you really got me with the trying to know yourself as a you mentioned that this video or this meeting that it's not just like a blanket trying to know that it's like specifically like know about me or
So if we lined up your father and your mother and your friends, lined up 15 people and you amongst them, every one of them would have a different experience of who Jack is.
yeah. But I don't necessarily care about that so much. Like really when I was digging through it, it was just like how am I reacting to this and what hurts, what doesn't hurt.
Yeah, good. That's good stuff.
Yeah. But but you kind of cut at something when you said like you don't have to know yourself in that way. Um,
I would go as far as to say you can't know yourself in that way.
okay, so that's a something I did want to bring up is I've been kind of realizing recently that for some reason internal commands and commands from other people seem to work and feel better than blanket statements. So like I heard someone say like don't try to control or don't try and know, don't try to understand. And that cut way harder than you can't know or you can't understand.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Uh, which is weird though, because I kind of rebel against that a little bit.
Yeah, well, that kind of reveals.
That tracks, yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty universal training, isn't it? You're only a kid. You can't know anything. You listen to the adults; they'll tell you.
Hmm.
And if you get told that enough, you pretty quickly stop trusting your own ideas about anything.
Yeah.
You look for validation in an authoritative situation, and then you vote Republican.
Could see that.
Mm. So, what if you gave yourself a command? Would that carry more weight than?
Yeah, yeah. That's what I was playing with. Like, for example, and I haven't really done it since then, but like moo as an internal command versus moo as a word was so much more effective. Or
Yeah,
like the first one that was like wow was like just no. Um, like just that's it, no. Um, yeah. But yeah, so that's where I was starting to play with it. But it felt so weird because it just feels like I thought the whole point is to be like free of rules and free of yeah,
yeah, but you don't get free of them by rejecting them. You get free of them by
okay,
simply seeing the part they play for you. And
yeah,
what you just told me, you're a big way down that path right now. So here's an interesting one. If we say you can't really know yourself, that's not a command. How can we reframe that to be a command?
don't try.
Right? And how can you respond to that?
Not trying. Or like
Yeah. Doesn't it take away any agency on your part? You're just obedient.
a little bit, yeah. There's maybe one other thing I wanted to ask. Is I have been playing with deliberately cutting out some of the negativity and focus on suffering and focus on what hurts. And it's been feeling better sometimes. Which I guess that's all there really is to say. Or
Oh,
like,
that opens up lots of things, that one.
you think? Because I was almost just like, if it feels good, and what I'm grappling with is that it shouldn't. I'm grappling with stuff I've heard, like the idea of toxic positivity or lenses of you should look at your suffering, which is all I've been doing for the last while. That it's like, well, this feels good, might as well go in that way, right? But of course, I would like your opinion on it and validation and.
Well, my reaction to it was, isn't it interesting that you've been able to do that? You've been able to separate yourself from those experiences. I
Yeah.
wonder, I wonder if that happening fell into the category of control for you. But that's just a wonder. I don't really need an answer to that. But I
Yeah, I don't
found
know.
really
One thing I
interesting.
was going to mention is that it's maybe less separating and more of like sometimes I'm just it's what it is it's a refusal. It's I will not put my attention into this, or I will just ignore this and
Yeah,
be
yeah.
damned if we're going to call it ignoring, it's or
Yeah,
avoidance. We're just going to do it anyway, right?
but the really big thing is that it's then happening.
Yeah. Yeah. And it feels good.
Yeah. Like you've trusted your own intuition about where to go or where to not go. That's big.
Yeah.
Just have to be careful you
I
don't get the idea that it's you're in control. Right? The idea turned up and it happened.
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Oh God.
Media,
When you say the control thing, or when you bring that up, is it because you're pointing to I, or you're pointing to my success or failure stuff, or what is it? Or is it just literally control that I can't control?
I wasn't meaning to bring it up in the sense of saying it is control. I'm just saying it could be seen as control. And if that's the case, it would be the I. It would be the idea that the I is doing it.
Yeah.
So there's a very much a gentleness to it all when you just see that it's a happening, right? The idea turned up and then the thing happened.
I'm gonna see what you think of this. I heard a different description as it's all one doing. What do you think about that?
Yeah, yeah, that's a zoom right out perspective for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is, there's nothing separate. There's nothing that is not you.
Yeah, so I've heard. Okay, I think I should be off to bed. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Jack. Yeah, I'm going to have an early night myself.
Okay.
Yeah.